Call this meeting to order. Wednesday, May 11th, 2022, City of Somerton work session. It's 6:03 p.m. Roll call.
Mayor Gerardo Naya.
Present.
Vice Mayor Miguel Villalpando.
Present.
Councilmember Luis Galindo.
Present.
Councilmember Jesus Roldan.
Present.
Councilmember Martha Garcia.
Present.
Councilmember Juan Castillo.
Present.
Councilmember Lorena Sendejas.
She's out of town. She might join us depending on her flight gets in.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. We're going to forego all other formalities and jump to the first item, presentation of last architects for professional services for Community Center Recreation Master Plan and Architecture and Engineering Design work for Somerton Community Center Expansion Project.
Mayor and Council, several months ago, we went out for an RFP to look at the community center expansion, as that was discussed last year regarding a location for possible mitigation of future COVID or chaotic disasters in the area. As we don't have a proper location to house the possible 16,000 residents that we have, it's something that we need to look at to make sure we do have any potential areas for a possible chaos or mitigation thereof. So when we went out to bid, we looked at two companies, and the one that was chosen was Last Architects. So they're here to look at the plan as several conversations with mayor and council regard of the location of the expansion. So in that same retrospect, we looked at a master plan for the community center, Main Street Park, and Heritage Pool. So that was a discussion that we had with the architects about a month ago or so. So they're here to explain what they may propose and see what council's direction is, either to have it at the community center or a different location. So Brad or...
Hi, everyone. My name is Brad Lang. I am the principal and co-founder of Last Architects. I'm a registered architect. I've been practicing over 20 years now, and about 18 months ago started a new practice with my partner, Eric Sterner, who is back at the office holding things down. As City Manager Cabrera discussed, we have had some conversations about the community center expansion project and ways that we can move the project forward. The original RFQ had an expansion area to the east of the existing building, but as you all are aware, the city has recently purchased the site, the parcel to the west of the block, and now control the entirety of the block. As your potential design partner, we saw that kind of changed the dynamic of this project in potentially a significant way, allowing for more flexibility as to where the expansion could go, and furthermore, how the expansion could support not just the existing community center, but the site as a whole. And so what we were asked to do at the kind of conclusion of that conversation was to not only propose for the community center expansion, but to propose a master plan effort so that we looked at the entirety of the site. Now that the site, as you can see at the exhibit above, now that the site included what was initially called the future parking area, that parcel was now under control of the city. And so how could we start to think about the block as a recreational center for the city in its entirety, given that the proposed building site to the east didn't necessarily have to be there now, given that the future parking area was under control of the city in its entirety. And so we put forward two proposals, one for the design of the community center expansion, but one for this initial study of a master plan of the entire block that would do a couple of things. One, it would allow us the opportunity to look at the site in its totality. Two, it would allow us to think about the ramifications and the potentials and the opportunities that are involved with having the future parking area under control now. And three, I think most importantly, it would give us an initial first step, initial foray into the project that would bring some clarity as to what exactly the community center wants to be and how it could support short and long-term goals for the this recreation piece on your main street moving forward. We have a proposal we put together. I think that was included in your packet, I'm hoping, or I can find a way to get it onto this machine. But that is where the conversation kind of evolved to, and I'm happy to introduce the team that is with me here, or talk through any questions you have about how we can move this project forward, next steps, opportunities, etc. I appreciate you giving us this time to discuss. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you summarize the proposal?
Sure. So as we were...
Page 49.
So as discussed, we were asked at the conclusion of our initial meeting to, again, not only think about the fee proposal for designing the new community center expansion, but also the master plan. And so to summarize the proposal, there are basically two prices or two proposals in front of you. The first is a master planning session, which would include in-person visioning workshop, meaning we can work with your citizenry, work with the folks aligned with Parks and Rec, other folks that are stakeholders on this very important site. We would be doing analysis and documentation and recommendations for the entirety of the site. We would be producing rendered concepts, looking at precedent imagery, given kind of goals for the block, and then of course presenting to board and stakeholders what we find and what we uncover during that outreach and design process. And so that I think I might have associated a time frame with that, but that would be a shorter time frame, obviously. And again, I think it would behoove everyone, given these kind of new these new issues of the west parcel, to take a step back and look at the project and look at this recreation area in its totality. Part of this proposal, we also reached out to a local engineering group to survey the block so that we would have a very strong understanding of all the parts and pieces that are there for us to begin our design studies and our master planning studies. So that would be a phase one or a first phase. And then also provided was the fee to design what we don't know specifically at this time, but we used a baseline $1.5 million construction budget for the community center expansion and how our fee would break down and the team that we have assembled. And so it is Last Architects, my company, with Sternco engineer John and Sarah representing Sternco are here with us today. They will be doing engineering and supporting the architecture team as well. We have Campbell Structural as the structural engineer and Wheat Design Group as the landscape architect. Also, as part of our proposal, we have fees associated with cost estimating from Ryder Levitt Bucknell, who we've worked with many times before on the cost estimating side of things. As I think you're aware, this is a pretty volatile construction market that we find ourselves in. And so for any project that is going through a design bid build process, which as of right now, this project is slated to go, it is very important that we keep kind of understanding of where we are from a budgetary point of view with the design as it is evolving through schematic and design development all the way onto construction documents. So that is what you have before you there. And again, happy to take any questions at this time.
Yeah, just want to mention or remind council that the initial RFQ was for expansion of the community center, but within conversations there was the idea of doing the master plan for the whole, but that was not in the initial, I guess, request for proposal. So that's probably something new that it was proposed during our meeting, but I wanted to bring it to council and just make sure that if we move forward, that we're all on the same page.
Is the site set in stone?
It's not, and I had heard from Councilwoman Villalpando and Vice Mayor Villalpando and Councilwoman Sendejas, that
I was thinking the same.
They were liking
cultural,
the cultural center. So that's probably just before it got too far that we could discuss and maybe have a conversation.
Mayor, if I may, the reason behind it is, first of all, I lived in that area right across the street from the community center for most of my life. And before, it used to be a park, wide open space. And I think by us adding another building, you're eliminating more of that open air for the neighbors. Because I tell you what, when they first built that gym, people were an uproar about it. I was torn because I'm a basketball player, so I loved it back then, but everybody else hated it. And so you do have residential right behind it, and that's part of the problem. The other thing too, my concern is that we would be landlocking the pool site, the swimming pool. There's days, and Jesus is here, he could probably testify to this, where the pool is overwhelmed. There's just so many people there that we have to allow for some form of expansion. And if we take up that land, then there's no way. We're going to have to look for another site. And that's what two of my biggest concerns is that you're putting another building there. Now you're cutting an open air, and now you're landlocking the pool for future use. I mean, even something as simple as patios that are fenced in to incorporate the pool. I mean, those would be typically good ideas. As far as parking space for the whole corner, that's prime commercial land. So I could see probably half of it going towards parking, but not the whole thing. And so I think there's a few more discussions, but quite honestly, I think for me, the best fit would be over here by the cultural center by Council Avenue.
You aware where the cultural center is at? And
I am somewhat aware. Yeah, I haven't spent time studying that area, so
yeah,
I would need to
that's
educate myself on that parcel.
Any other comments from council?
So just if I may, Mayor. So this would be one proposed site what you've demonstrated to us right now, and the other one would be the culture center. Do we have any other potential sites, or is it just those two?
Those two as of now. There is possibly, obviously, the park where the pond is going to be at, but then that limits the area for a baseball field for the high school as well.
And initially, when we had discussions, that at least my preferred site was some of the new property that we have over there, but just in conversations, with the city manager, he felt that the community center would probably be and with the at least with me, just after listening to Vice Mayor, I'm open to both. I do understand that, there's special interest. Councilwoman Sendejas also lives there, but I do see the same issues with the other property too. There's in residential property, and I see more potential here on Main Street. It's our infill district, and but that's why we are a council, and those are decisions that we need to make. But at least I'm open. I also would like to see maybe a cost, and maybe that would. Right. But as far as making sense, we're gonna grow to the west side. The high school's gonna be there, and right now it's on Main Street, which Main Street is our main corridor, our gateway. So to me, community-wise, it does, but then again, I do understand that we are going to affect some of the residents there, but we would affect some residents too over there on the other side. Yeah. So.
Yeah, and I think I agree with you on that one, Mayor. I think we are growing, to the west, and it just with that expansion there, it gives it that visual growth. So.
I would like to offer just a follow-up comment, if I may, something for you as a council to think about. Often as design partners and designers, we are asked to study the pros and cons of various sites. And I could see very easily expanding the master plan portion to include the other site. And so that you can put your design professionals to use and find out what is the better site? What is the site that offers you the most for your community and the most for your citizenry and the most for your future goals? So that could be one avenue for you all to consider.
And I think the master plan will accomplish that, but quite honestly, if it wasn't in the RFP or RFQ, then that kind of has to be set aside, because there was two companies that submitted it, and it would be unfair for the other one in order to follow our procurement policy. So for that, quite honestly, I would have to set it aside. But back to the comments, this building is supposed to be used for in case of emergencies, so regardless of where you put it, it's not like it's a destination as far as like a grocery store or anything like that. And again, I do have concerns that our pool is getting to the point where it's not sufficient, and we're gonna have to do a second one or do an expansion. And if you break it up into two sites, you're gonna have to have that much more staff to adequately service the community. Versus there, if you expand the swimming pool, then you really don't have to spend so much on staff. Maybe some upgrades.
Councilman Villalpando, and then Jesus. Councilman Villalpando, Galindo. Then.
And this the expansion, how big is it? How many square footage? It's going to be? Do we have the space available on the other cultural center or parking lot? Because I know there's a little gate, but I don't know how big is it. Are we thinking of demolishing the old cultural center? Because
that's probably something that we haven't discussed. I guess if this site is not picked, then we would probably look at the.
Because how big is the expansion?
It is supposed to be 8,000.
8,000.
So 80 by 100.
If I may, City Council, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Councilmember Jesus, Mr. Parks and Rec Director, just something to consider moving forward on the staffing and programming side. I have to agree with Vice Mayor Villalpando. Please consider that staffing-wise, it's going to be very practical and more efficient having supervision close to the building. It's in a centralized location in front of the library, next to our office. the youth center and next to our flagship signature park, which is our main park. If it's going to be a multi-use facility, it's going to be next to the park. They could go train, run next to the pond, use the field. It's safer. You have a landing site for an emergency with helicopter also, as well as JCC. And parking, there's probably more parking at Council Park. Just something to consider.
Councilman Roldan, you have more knowledge than all of us on the side.
I think I understand both sides, Mayor. I understand that, it's centralized in case something happens, the access will be better on Main Street. But at the same time, I mean, it is true what Vice Mayor and Jesus is saying, that, will be supervised. You got the more people by the library, and at the same time, you got more people at the park, and also next to the Parks and Recreation office. So I think at the end is pros and cons, and that will be the decision after, we get all that information. But I think at this time it's too early to say which side, but both sides, actually look pretty good.
Yeah, and on that side, we also have the youth center and the community center, so that could probably be looked at and yeah, pros and cons, and we can make that decision. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you very much. Okay, would you want us to bring it back to council in our next meeting to make a decision on which location?
Well, pros and cons, I don't know how much it will take, but can look at the that site and see if what ideas come about, and maybe we'll look at that.
Hi, sorry, just for my clarification, would you like us then to expand the proposal for this other site?
Yes, to look at. Yeah, I would think that's probably the make sure that, because it seems that there's concerns with that site, and that then we can look at the other site.
We can do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Item number 2, presentation of preliminary capital improvement project and general fund operating budget for fiscal year 2023. And I talked to Mr. Cabrera. We had requested, the budget beforehand. We got it 2 hours before, so we're going to skip that portion of the general fund and just go over the capital improvement project budget.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council members, Zarina Gallegos, Finance Director. So before you have a listing of the first part is a listing of all the currently budgeted capital improvements that are funded out of the general fund and or other grant funds. Obviously, with regards to Mayor and Council, there really are no major capital improvements for the 2023 fiscal year outside of the completion of the video system for council chambers and for administration, the vehicle. For economic development, there has been a change. I was made aware by economic development that the Avenue DE corridor regional master plan actually increased by $65,000. So there's an adjustment of $50,000 that we'll be making for that particular project. So for economic development, we'll have a $70,000 essential capital improvement budget. And really that's a project that we're budgeting again this fiscal year because in 2023 because it didn't move forward in the current fiscal year. So there haven't been any new projects added to either of those categories or departments. The one that has changed is Parks and Recreation. And Andrea, would you scroll down for me, please? Okay. Oh, no, not all the way down. There you go, Parks and Recreation. Thank you.
Mayor, Council, for another change, obviously is the welcome signage. We're looking at pushing it to 2024. I know we have it there for 2023, but we're pushing it to 2024 as it was a request from the high school. Once the high school opens, to have them do it at that time.
So there's $5,000 in next fiscal year and in 2024 in both years?
No, I remove it to 2023 and put it on 2024.
Well,
Unless
there's still COFA, there's still high school kids from Somerton. There's 4 signs that we need to make. So
it was a request from the high school.
Brother.
My brother.
Your sobrino.
My niece. Your husband. Her niece. Nephew.
Talk to him.
I didn't know about it. I'll talk to him.
We have 2 already from COFA, ¿no?
One. This year wasn't made, so that's why I'm saying it was going to be a 4-year project. So we can talk to them. I think it was a good project. It has that, that.
If we're doing 4,
yeah,
2 we can do 2 from COFA and 2 from Somerton.
Yeah.
Suggestion.
I know we did design one for the entrance. Yeah. And that was his design. I did hear from some council members as far as that side is concerned. Yeah. And that's in the entrance.
I want Mr. Brianza next meeting. You gotta talk to him.
See what's going on.
Yeah.
So then more to come on that one?
Yeah, and we've budgeted 5,000 this last fiscal year and just materials, and it's all good. Remember the students' faces 2 years ago? They were, and it still hasn't been installed, or has it?
No, actually, the design was
Sam.
Actually, Hector already got the quote, so we already got the area. So it should have been this week, but it'll be a week to be installed.
The 4-year CAP project. So
I need to talk to you regarding that. Parks and Rec, yes.
Parks and Recreation. With regards to Parks and Recreation, the projects that are essentially that we're budgeting again in 2023 are the Phase 2 lighting project in Centennial Park. And that's essentially the only one we're budgeting again in 2023. New projects, I don't know if you'd like to talk about them, Jesus? Okay, so the Centennial Park building roof replacement or?
Yes.
Replacement. We also have we have 2 projects that are being considered for grant funding. Actually, 3 projects that are being considered for grant funding. The Senior Center exercise equipment for $12,000 and Senior Center automatic door system for actually instead of $75,000, that should be $13,000. And the Community Center restroom remodel for $75,000.
And those are all grant funded, right?
We're looking for grants for those particular projects. We believe we'll be able to.
So if we don't get the grant funding, then we're not going to do it, correct?
Yes.
Well, they may qualify for the federal funds. So we will be looking for those grant fundings. If they aren't available, then we'll come back to council to inform you and figure out how to move forward from there.
Okay.
For the parks equipment, one thing is some of that equipment is to assist whatever actually started in July with the agreement with the high school. And one thing is looking at the logistics of that equipment to see if it's going to be here. If we order it in January or February, it gets here in July, that's where we're pushing it. But if not, we might have to bring it down to 2023 for that equipment, which is the lawnmower, new trailer, and what have you, in order to maintain that area. As of today, as a matter of fact, actually yesterday, we did receive word from our grants writer, Pericone Park Improvements. The actually National Park, Arizona Park, is coming down on May 27th to look at our area facilities, and especially Pericone, Joe Munoz, and one more. Oh, and Parkview, because it seems like they're going to be able to fund some of those facilities, but there is a match. But they were looking at anywhere from $500,000 to $1 million. There's a match, and we're trying to figure out that match of what that would be. So we're leaving obviously the $200,000 in there, but hopefully that match might be in terms of hours, matching type of funds, not necessarily monetary. It might be FTEs, equipment, and because there's, especially with Parkview and Pericone, since there is a possible, obviously, agreement between the high school that it's going to serve both the high school and the public. That's what they want to see, especially because there's trailways, there's trails.
There's trails, and the census tract also might be in the area.
So that's going to assist with the grants that are going to be available.
The skate park equipment we had discussed. Is it here?
For council.
Or Council Park?
No, because it was $6,500. We can put it on the operation side, but unless you want it on the CIP.
No, just be aware of it.
Yeah, we can add it.
No, it was on theirs because I think the ramp was about $6,500 because we were going to add one ramp.
Okay.
Just if I may add on the senior center fitness equipment, it's highly likely can arrive before the end of the fiscal year, so it might be charged to this budget cycle. It's already been ordered.
So we have operating budget for that ramp. Okay. Okay. APS for Centennial Park, we had a meeting with them this week, and because we had discussed in the preliminary budget meeting that maybe move those monies, but they indicated that they were going to honor those 50,000 and underground those lines in October, right?
Yes.
So we're gonna keep that.
Yeah, that's the only time frame. They only have 2 windows in October and February. That's the only time frame that they have to actually shut down, because they're gonna have to shut down.
It's a project that Hector never finished since you were there.
Another item that you may want to consider based on the 0.08 is obviously there's either using the 0.08 to fund some of these projects, parks, or using the 0.08. And this is at least as a recommendation, right? Council can make that decision on where to put that 0.08 or fix some of the retention basins. And we're looking at $200,000.
If I may add on the floor restoration for the community center, it is a priority project for the safety. We might have to start using that facility for activities, especially in the summer now that we have the AC. And the 75 grand is to restore the current floor, is not to reinstall a completely new floor, but it is guaranteed for about 8 to 10 years. Would be a well done project. And we are doing the striping this week and the sleeves for volleyball, so it would be a complete.
Well, we just discussed that we might move the expansion to the community center. So what if the proposal is just tear that down and let's build a new one? So
that we even better.
Yeah, maybe budget it, but it can wait. Be added to expansion. Yeah, and council, anything so we can start brainstorming for future years that you would like to see or
I remember last year, our residents kind of voted on some of the things that they would like to see. Do we have that graph still? I think it'd be a good opportunity to kind of revisit it and see what they asked for.
during the Parks Master Plan, or what was it?
They a lot of them were suggesting amphitheater, a skate park. Some of them are already on the works,
So we should revisit that, maybe at the retreat, discuss that.
Just thinking that, I mean, that'd be something that we can, I mean, if that's what our residents are asking for.
Something that I would like to see and be added for future years, and we can discuss it later, remove it, but a basketball court on the southwest part, but we can talk to the school there, the Tierra del Sol field. We have soccer, but basketball would be good for the, so,
There's lights already there.
yeah.
Something that I would like to see in the 10 years, it's not for parks, so something else.
So it's a capital improvement project, that's the time. Yeah.
It's for 4 lanes and from Somerton to what, County 15?
Mm-hmm.
Is that where that new high school? I think we should have 4 lanes because we're gonna have 4 schools there, 3-4 schools, and those 2 lanes, one it's not gonna be in Avenue. Cesar Chavez.
2 schools.
2 schools, yeah, but we already have 2 more there.
Yeah.
No, it's something that I would like to see in the future.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
FYI,
If it's needed, yeah.
if it's, right now, maybe we don't know what's going to happen, but let's wait when the high school starts and we see all the houses, people coming in and out, businesses, and it's something.
just want to mention that for the culture center, the restroom also that is a priority because of safety. It's a trip hazard already on the culture center. We are hosting activities, constant reservations, so I think we should invest on the floor and the restrooms.
Well, the other thing that we want to consider as far as looking in the future, I know we want a lot of things, but right now Sam is going to go over his budget, and Parkview is going to take a lot of those funds, just because of the costs have been astronomical. So that's something to consider, obviously, and we're looking obviously maybe in the next 4 or 5 years, but on the next year, it's going to be pretty high. That's going to have an impact on the overall budget.
Go, Sam.
That would be something that we might just want to save some funds out of the general fund or the 0.08 so that we have some monies to apply to the lake and that area, that green area that we're planning on building, because that's really where we'll need to focus a lot of our funding on.
And the 0.08, makes sense for the lake. That was the intent of council, to have something that impacts the whole community. I would have concerns with just the retention bases. They're neighborhood specific, but it was more like for recreational type, the city hall, and so I think that lake would probably be something that would fit what the intent of that 0.08 was.
The other discussion that we had with community development is open space within the new neighborhoods or new subdivisions that are coming in, to have them give us some of those funds to help that Parkview Park as well, because that's going to serve the whole community, and that's definitely going to help with some of these new residents, new developments.
Okay, with this. Yeah, with this thing, Sam and Jesus are gonna be instrumental because we've been trying to tear down trees or change the landscaping. So we should start thinking, how is this gonna look 20 years from now? And if we're gonna be changing stuff that we require, then might as well require it as a beginning. If we only gonna require one tree, let's do it. But because then we look at the maintenance and yeah, it looks beautiful, but then we're here trying to change it. So I think it needs to reflect what our maintenance needs are, and if it doesn't, if it doesn't look as nice at the beginning, then hopefully we can have a happy, medium between the maintenance and what's new. Yeah. I think that would be my preference, but I don't know with council. It's just like now that we're changing everything that we require into xeriscape, then why not require it as the beginning? Because we're going to be maintaining. We have those nice pathways with plants are very dense, and there's like, okay, we need to remove some plants, and so it's yeah.
If I may, on the undergrounding the APS lines. So when you met with APS, they indicated that the $50,000 charge, they were going to honor that, and they're not going to require any additional contribution from the city?
No, there was one question about to the north, if we had any plans. I don't understand what maybe we can get more, but at least for undergrounding, they were going to honor the initial proposal, and Hector is more familiar with that. But whatever was initially, they were going to underground all the lines there on Centennial Park, and I don't know what the other work was. I don't know if you know, but he did mention they're going to honor that, and you have plans to the north. I don't know. Jerry said, yeah, we're going to.
No, I didn't see it. He was going to send me, APS was going to send me the design that I guess there's some design, that preliminary design. So once we receive that design, we'll make that determination on the north of Centennial.
Okay, because my concern is making sure that we budget accordingly in 2023. So if they are going to honor the $50,000, unless you're aware of any additional funds that we have to budget. Hector, did you want to add?
Yeah, Mayor and council members. Yes, I recall that it was a design completed already. And what happened, the city budgeted $41,000. When the design came back, it came to $125,000. That was 3 years ago. So I don't know how much it's now, but it's going to be a lot more.
It's more, but they're going to honor the initial.
But Mayor, the question is, what happens to the north of Centennial? And that's the question that needs to be. If it's on the design, then the cost obviously is not $50,000. It's going to end up being $250,000 just to put the underground basically in front of Public Works.
What happens to the north? We're going to clean up the yard.
I think it was only to the wall, the north side of the Centennial Park. The design stopped right there. So whatever happened after that wall, it has to be the city.
Yep, correct.
Because if the proposal at that point in time was an additional $125,000? No.
Yeah.
Okay, but $50,000 was that we had to pay.
Correct.
And they'll honor that, but then I guess I'm a little confused as to the full design.
No, we'll discuss it more once we get the design from APS to see what there is. Right now, as it is just the $50,000, and if we move forward, then we'll bring it up to council to increase if there is an increase. I don't know what the design is.
Okay.
So right now, because we have the park, APS is required by our franchise agreement to help us on the recreational side. So yes, they'll underground for $50,000 that block, but the question is, do we now as a city underground between at the end of Centennial all the way to the trailer park on Somerton Avenue so that Sam and his crew can put in a walkway or, beautify that area.
Oh, it was a walkway, yeah.
But that obviously comes out of pocket through the city 100%.
Yeah, it was a walkway.
So if they're going to start undergrounding that, should we jump in now and underground the area that we want to underground? And that's the question.
Yeah. Do you have plans for that walkway? Yeah.
Sam, can you come to the podium? That way our spectators can see us and hear us.
Part of the master plan includes the pathway along Somerton Avenue, as you may know. The south side is projected or programmed to be on the west side because the right of way that we have. The same thing on the north side, but it's going to be planned to be on the east side, from Main Street to all the way to County 15.
Do we have funding? I know we're talking out of line here, but
no, we don't have the funds.
Okay, so it would be up to.
It's just a plan.
Yeah, and that was a question. Yeah, the walkway. Now that
So then there's more to come on that one, and if there are any changes, we'll come back. Perfect. On the Paracone improvements, because we're looking for grant funding there, should that 200,000 be split between grant funding or the general fund, or should that stay the way it is?
That should stay as is, because the additional, at least from what our grant writer had mentioned, the grant might be at 500,000, and there's a matching fund of possibly 100 to 200,000.
Okay.
Could be up to actually possibly $1 million. So.
Okay. All right. And I think obviously the cultural center restroom remodel, Jesus went over that, and a new vehicle. This new vehicle would be financed, so there would be a debt service associated with that. Do you all have any questions with regards to parks, or would you like me to move forward?
Suggestion. I know, there's a lot of soccer than, more than before. And one of the things, I went to a tournament for baseball in San Diego, and I see they have an indoor soccer facility, and it's not enclosed. It's just they have walls and they have fence around it. But all day they're playing in this 5-on-5 and whatever tournaments there is. So, something to take a look. I think that'll be, if they have it and they have lights, I think that's, not a lot, but at least some revenue they're bringing to the city. At the same time, we're serving the community for, soccer.
Is that similar to what was proposed, a turf soccer field that Joe Munoz, it was supposed to be like a small?
Yeah, it's kind of like, yeah.
But it's more like it has bleachers, or what is it?
The one that I went has bleachers, just the ones that Joe Munoz has to watch. It was nothing fancy, but has the black wall on the side, like 6 feet or 5, and then so forth, and then also, so everything is enclosed, but not enclosed, just the sides. Yeah, the back where the goalie is.
The soccer field was. And that was before the skate park. It was for Joe Munoz, and it's been being moved every year. That's probably something, that we can keep in mind. And it's budgeted for next fiscal year. But maybe the location, Joe Munoz, now that we have the skate park, it's not the best location. Maybe
it just reduced everything down with the skate park.
Yeah,
maybe Council Park. But so we could look at that for next fiscal year, but we could get an accurate estimate of how much something like that would cost.
Just to add and to what I don't know if Vice Mayor whispered it, but I agree with the pool expansion. I think we need, if possible, an Olympic-sized pool. Our community is growing a lot, and like Vice Mayor said, we're gonna reach a point where they're gonna have to say no more at a certain point, because it's too full or whatever. I think we've stopped doing the triathlons because of the pool size too. So, and plus of COVID, but I think that would be a good project to add to.
And it would serve the high school too.
Yeah, we wouldn't have to bus the kids to Yuma too.
Yeah, something.
One more thing. One thing.
Councilman.
Last week when we went to the high school tour, I asked Lucky or Bisu, the baseball field is going to have lights, and they said no because it's 180,000, and he cannot justify putting lights because that money he has to use it. So is there a way we can help community or Corn Fest? I don't know what we can do to help them, or partnership or grants or we can use it. If we help, then the community can use it too. Or
There's a farmer that was mentioned, I think, in the last meeting, and then someone else had mentioned it. I think they're reaching out to him to see if he'll be able to assist.
Okay. Nothing more? Parks and Rec facility wise, we're good for the next 5 years. Thank you.
All right. How would it be okay if I move forward?
Yes.
Okay. So with regards to fire, we really haven't added anything. I've budgeted the ambulance again, just because the possibility of it not getting here timely this year. And for the swamp coolers, I went ahead and we added additional budget for that because there's a possibility that has increased significantly. So really, there are no new projects in fire. There are no new projects in police. The same with the trucks. We still don't know whether they'll be here this year. For animal control, the same. We're just waiting to receive those vehicles. And with regards to community development, I believe there was, I think Carmen can probably speak better with regards to the subdivision code, but when we did the RFQ, there weren't enough companies that that submitted a bid for qualifications for the code update. And so we're looking at other options.
So the one that has done it other years didn't submit?
Yes, actually they just submitted late last week, and we are getting together the review committee within the city staff are going to be reviewing it by the end of this week. And if it meets all the criteria that we're looking for, we're gonna go to the next step, which is a presentation, a short, brief presentation, and they're gonna give us the breakdown on the price and everything. So if they meet our budgeted amount, then we're going to bring it to you for final award.
So how come they didn't submit the first time? Did they know? Or
they didn't know. Actually,
No.
they did not know in time to submit. So the first time when we published the request for qualification, there was only one consulting firm who submitted, and we met, we reviewed it, and we decided not to go with this particular firm. So we had to close that request for qualification, and we moved to reach out to those consulting firms that are under the state contract. So we have reached out to a couple of them, and we're waiting to hear from them. There's one, the Michael Baker International, which is a national firm with a lot of experience, and we're working with them on the pricing and reviewing their submittal. So for that reason, it costs for us to roll over the amount that we had financed for this current fiscal year to the next. That way we can initiate the update in this upcoming fiscal year. That's the only item that I have actually roll over, and that's the only reason why we had to delay that. Okay, thank you.
And you will see a plotter for community development, street, water, and wastewater, and it's actually $2,000, but it's being split amongst the different funding sources. No, it's for next fiscal year. Yeah, for 2023, the one that we're discussing. Do you have any questions with regards to these?
So how come the plotter is here is 2,000 and the parks equipment was in there?
Because it's separated amongst the funding sources, but I will add the parks equipment in the CIP list just for you.
Yeah.
How's that?
To be there. Yeah. Then.
All right.
Then it's forgotten.
Okay. Okay. Can you go to the next page, Andrea, please? Thank you. So this is a list of the projects that are essentially we're planning on either utilizing that will be funded by ARPA funds, but there is a change, and that was my mistake. The South Somerton drainage project, it should actually be 175,000, not 610,000. So that's going to change the balance significantly with regards to the current fiscal year. So the court system, we anticipate that a portion of that security system will be expended the current fiscal year, and only 28,000 will be budgeted in the 2023 fiscal year. The fiber optic infrastructure to city facilities, this was eliminated because because of the contract we entered into with Spectrum, which they'll be supplying the fiber optic to all our facilities. That was approved last council meeting. The ERP update, the full ERP update, not just the main financials. And yes, that is a project that I had not had the opportunity to move forward with. I just don't have the staff or time, but we'll figure it out next year. We'll definitely move forward with it next year. The rewiring and network system through Logicalis. I believe the equipment was ordered in this current year, and the wiring I budgeted for next fiscal year, but the majority of the wiring has been completed. Is that correct? So that actually may be done in this current fiscal year. So that expense would potentially hit this year, not next year. Either way, it's the same fund, so it will be expended. So the funds won't be there next fiscal year. So therefore, I'll probably change that for the final budget so that it doesn't reflect in 2023, but in 2022. The Pbx phone system, it was canceled because we recently updated the software of our telephone system. So that isn't going to move forward. The cameras in the impound lot, I believe we're working on an estimate. Hopefully we will be able to expense that amount. The community center HVAC project, that obviously was completed already. It's 185,000, and I didn't delete the 225 on the spreadsheet, so it's that 225 shouldn't be there.
I was wondering about that.
I'm sorry?
I was wondering about that.
Yes, that 225 should not be there. That was my mistake.
So Serena, the total over here on the bottom right, it should be around 4.6, right? Give or take.
Yes. That is correct.
And was that what it cost the community center HVAC? 185, or was it more?
Yes. That's rounded. I think it was 184.8 something. But I rounded it up to 185. And that was completed this year, and payment, I believe, was sent out last month for the full payment of that HVAC. So that's done. And we have the right-of-way for the community center, the 266. And I suppose that's something that we should talk about now, because the reason that the right-of-way was funded out of here for the community center expansion is because obviously that's the site that we had initially indicated would be the community center. So if now we won't use that site, that 266 is going to have to come out of the general fund. So that's just something to think about in switching sites.
We technically expanded the community center.
Yes.
More capacity. Capacity.
Yes. However, it's the reason the reason that it qualified for ARPA funds is because the community center expansion would be utilized for emergency response. So if that changes, then the amount of right-of-way that would have to be, essentially the general fund would have to transfer the 266 for the right-of-way into this and kind of reimbursed these funds. So that's an additional expense. Okay. Let's see. The Bay Garage for Public Safety, it was scheduled in 2024. It remains in 2024. The Water Tank 3 construction, there's $2 million for the Tank 3. I don't believe that has changed. Nope.
Is the design done for that? Ongoing, when is it going to be completed? November. Is this $2 million accurate? Are we going to finish it next fiscal year, or can it be straddled? Because if it's gonna be completed in November, it takes about 2 months for 2 to 3 months for procurement. December, January, February. Notice to proceed March, April, May, June. So maybe 3 months of construction. Is that?
If we finish by November, the design, we advertise the project in November. We should probably receive bids by the end of December, let's say beginning of January. Bring it to council the second week of January, third week of January. And in a month, we can have a contractor on board.
And if there
March,
if it's not complete,
February,
March, April, May, June, July. We'll build it in 4 months. Because I'm always concerned when we budget one project, especially construction projects, in 1 year. Realistically, it's we take from other projects and then it's not built. It's unrealistic to think that something, if it's not designed already by June, that we're gonna have it constructed in 1 year. It's just the way it is, and that was a conversation that I had, that a lot of the projects that we budget, we don't deliver, and then that money doesn't, well, maybe for this it will carry over, but for other projects, then it's just.
If I may, so if we do go out to bid, we would bid for the full $2 million, if that's how much it would cost. So if we were to divide it up into 2 fiscal years, then we wouldn't have the budget to bid out the entire project. So it might go into 2024, but if it does, we have the ability to come to council and say, okay, so unfortunately, we didn't have the time to finish it in this full fiscal year, but we anticipate that maybe 10% of it will be paid in the next year. So in terms of the ARPA funds, the funds have already been essentially allocated to this project. So in terms of bidding the full project in 1 year, that really, I'm okay with that. I believe that that's the proper way to budget for this particular project. In 2023, I suppose that kind of following that same frame of mind, for example, the community center, I have it split into $750,000 in 2023 and $750,000 in 2024, simply because that project is so, right now it's so high level that we're not sure how we're going to move forward with that one. But in terms of the water tank, I believe budgeting it all in 2023 is the best course of action. I don't know if that answers your question, Mayor. And with regards to these funds, since we've already allocated the funds, the $2 million really will be for that particular project. So it's not essentially taking anything from other projects in terms of now and the budget. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And like I said, the South Somerton drainage, that was my mistake. Actually, Sam pointed it out to me because we had talked about it. And although the entire project qualifies for the funds, only $175,000 are needed.
One item also, as we looked at this, is the funding that we gave Cocopah Golf Course.
I'm sorry?
The Cocopah Golf Course. That we added at the
yes. In terms of the fund itself, there's also within the ARPA funds, there's also some funding that we've allocated for hazard pay, which we'll bring to you at the next council meeting, as well as the 120 for Cocopah. So all those are expenditures that are coming out of these particular funds.
Questions?
Just one comment, Mayor. Can you remove the court security system from? No,
All right. And here's Parkview Commerce. So we have several projects that have been presented before you and we were budgeted this fiscal year. As you can see, the Parkview Commerce infrastructure, we initially estimated it would be $850,000, but I believe the bid came. Is it the bid that, or is
Yes,
it
the bid?
The bid came in at 2.2 for the construction of that, right?
Yes.
Correct. So this really kind of puts a bit of a hamper on it. We have to come up. Already came up with the strategy, which we'll relay to you for funding of these projects. But as of now, it will be 2.2 million in that emphasis for that commercial development. The other projects, I don't know if Mayor Council want me to move it into like the 2024, 2025 time frame. I'm not sure how you'd like to proceed with that. As of right now, the budget for the pond is at 1.6. This is very high level estimate. We're not sure, but we would potentially have some preliminary design done in 2023 in order to determine the cost associated with it.
A question for the pond, since the high school is going to open on the fall 23. Do they need it to water their fields or what's?
No, they don't need it. At the beginning, obviously, they'll be using Trinity City treated water. So hopefully by 2024, we'll construct it because they're not doing the second part of our phase 2, which is, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4 more fields on the south side. So that's another, I wouldn't say another 15 to 20 acres or so that they're not going to be building on.
And those 50,000 is enough to cover the design of the pond?
That would be Sam question.
And that was actually, I thought we discussed that, but I'll let you.
I believe the design proposal from Jim David was 50 or 57,000.
So then I'm short. I'll go ahead and adjust that.
And are we knowing what we know now, what the Parkview, the cost came about, do those other budgeted items reflect the 25% increase or whatever it is, at least, or are those still numbers that we had last month? And
for the other parts of Parkview?
Construction in general, knowing that most likely it's
most of them are in Sam's project. So yeah, we did increase those costs, and you'll see them at Sam's projects.
So yeah, Sam's projects are up after this part. Don't get comfortable. I'm sorry, did you have any, before we move forward, do we have any questions or comments on these particular projects? Any direction with regards to the projects that we haven't moved forward on? Okay.
What's the land preparation?
I think those were the costs for the for Parkview Commercial at that point.
Yeah, Full City Hall, we sold it. Downtown Arch, we'll do it when we construct that and that section and the spec building. It's there. Well, maybe we can have it budgeted. See if we.
So move it into the 2026.
Well, I don't know what the discussion. There hasn't been any really discussion with council, and it was one of those things that
Mayor and I had discussed some sort of spec design. Saul Albor did an excellent job on doing a conceptual drawing, which was really, really nice. But at that point, 3 or 4 people came in at the same time last year, looking at that property, and they liked the idea. So we didn't move forward with the actual complete design just because they would say, well, I'm interested. And a month and a half later, well, never mind. So it kept on being pushed. But the idea was to do some sort of design, see hopefully someone would
technically was a
fight.
Placeholder just in case there was some movement. But yeah, there was.
So should those be moved to 2026 so we don't lose sight of them? Or, no? Okay.
Don't know. Just
okay.
We sell it. Fine if we don't. It was a nice condition. I'm sure everybody saw it. But.
Okay. All right. So, do you already get comfortable, Sam? All right.
Hey, your council, you're gonna go over following the list of the 2022 current CAPs and then the proposed for next year. We can go over one by one. If it's the case, number 1 is the solar lights. Basically, this is a project on 2022 that is going to be moved to 2023. And the reason why is because all those solar lights on Main Street pathway, which is the west entrance, cost effective is better to move forward with the regular power instead of replacing 6 batteries on each light.
He's no longer in council, so we're not gonna.
So we are. We are planning to move forward with this project next year, and one of the main reasons is also the Valley Vista Waterline project. Currently ongoing, it's almost done, but as you know, we are going to probably need to disturb all that area again because we already distributed for the sewer force main to Valle Vista, now for the water project. That's why it pushed 1 year and then the second year because of this. We knew that the Valle Vista water project is going on. So that's the main reason why it's in a standby and then pushed to next year. Now the Somerton Heights Cdbg project, 720,000. It's also pushed because we are waiting on ADA to give us a green light to move forward. This project is it was designed since a year ago, and we are waiting basically to ADA to give us a green light to move forward. We are ready to go.
Where's
Plans
Somerton
ready.
Heights?
Pardon me?
Where's Somerton Heights?
It's eucalyptus, federal, fern, daffodil, sunflower. Between Union and Federal, basically in front of west of Joe Munoz. West of Joe Munoz. Phase 1 is just Federal between Orange and eucalyptus between Cesar Chavez and Union. That's phase 1. Phase 2 will be fern, daffodil, sunflower. That's going to be phase 2. But this project is just phase 1, which is only Federal and eucalyptus.
Are we going to use the other side of the street because we installed the storm drain, right? And we replaced the half street.
Actually, fern is already done.
Okay.
Like
the water line?
Exactly. Okay. The water line on fern is already done.
So we're not going to be cutting new pavement.
Nope. Okay. That's why I placed fern on as a part of the project on the change orders. We have already a cost for line items. So that's why I included on the Yuma County project in order to avoid that.
Yeah.
So basically, like I said, it's going to be just reconstruct eucalyptus from Cesar Chavez to Union and Federal from eucalyptus to Orange. And this, the only reason why is pushed because we are waiting on ADA. We are waiting they give us a green light because the environmental review is in process. And it's not for us, it's just up to them. Next project is the Main Street new traffic signal for the high school. It's 850,000, sorry. Am I correct?
850 semester. Yeah. I can't see it very well.
850,000.
I'm your age, so we can't. So are we gonna have contributions from the developers there, from the school, or the city's gonna pay for the whole thing?
We are gonna pay for it. It is part of the IIP.
IP, okay.
Yes. The 100% of this project is going to be as part of the IIP.
Okay. The
transportation impact fees. The next project is the pathway extension on Valle del Sol, which is basically from Somerton Avenue to, from Bingham to Somerton Avenue. As you know, part of the agreement that we have with Max Builders is to give us 50,000 to this project. We already use that money. We already paved, which is a 10-feet pathway from Somerton to, from Bingham to Somerton. And this 100,000 is for the lighting, the avenge receptacle, the trash, and the landscaping. The next project, it is here, but also on the Parkview Commerce Center, which is, you already talk about it. The lowest bidder is 2.1, so we're going to move forward to develop this land. Next project is lease purchase for a new small dump truck for streets. Next project is a Parkview Avenue construction, which is basically Park Avenue between the Commerce Center and the high school. 800,000. This is going to be 50-50. It's going to be split with the high school. Half of the road is going to be paved by us. And this also includes part of these funds will be paid by transportation impact fees. And like I said, the half of this cost is going to be paid by the high school. The next one is North Jefferson, which is one of the agreements that we have with the high school. They are going to build the entire roadway on Jefferson for the high school from Cesar Chavez going west. So they will construct the full width, and we are going to pay the half north. Similar to what we are going to have on the Parkview Avenue, we are going to construct the full width, and they will be paid for the half, which is the east half. We're going to pay for the west half. And the last project on the HURF is replace existing traffic controllers, so UPS system on the traffic signals. This is just on Bingham and Avenue D.
Scroll up.
That's all that I have, Mayor and Council, for streets or HURF.
Thank you.
Let's move to which is things water.
Just go over the ones for this
year.
Yeah.
Okay. So Somerton Heights is the same as presented on HURF. It's a Cdbg project. Just this is to pay the portion of the water, $430,000. The water master plan update, because the last update was in 2015. It's $110,000 to update the water master plan. 1 million is this project is a rollover, the second tank rehabilitation project, and the reason was because the current tank that we already rehabilitated, the first tank, the 1-year warranty inspection or the 1-year warranty for that tank ended on March. Just passed. So in order for us to inspect it, we need to empty the other tank, or empty that tank, and just work and be operated with one tank. So between we inspected, they made a few repairs, and currently it is operating the second tank. So now we're going to need to empty this tank. Yes, we already have a contractor on board. So that's the reason that this project is pushed a little bit. But K Constructor will be our contractor, and is basically ready to go. And the water treatment system expansion design is we discussed. Jim David is working on the design for that plan, which includes the tank, the booster pumps, plant booster pumps, well, and the I think that's it. Plant, booster pumps, tank. Yeah. So Jim David is already on design this project. So like I said, Mayor, I'm pretty confident that we are going to be able to complete the third tank for which ARPA funds, with ARPA funds. Next, sewer for wastewater. We have basically the project on the wastewater, the lift station for the high school. It is already completed. The only pending is the generator because of the COVID. It takes a lot of time. They are waiting. They say May, they say April. Now it's going to be until September. So that's the only pending item that will be basically rolled over to next year. It is $29,000. The reason why I have $385,000, just remember that this project, which is the WEFA loan, includes the access road. But we're going to use that money and put it on the Parkview Avenue and then repay the WEFA loan. So we're basically, I removed the line item for the lift station, the access road, the pavement, and we're going to push on Parkview and then repay the WEFA loan with the money. That's why we are basically moved this $385,000. Like I said, just include the access road and half of the generator. The new mechanical screen, we already have that machine in the wastewater. We already advertised the project. We're gonna have the pre-bid meeting on the 19th and the bid opening on the 26th. And this project, this is just the installation of the mechanical screen. According to the manufacturer, this screen can be installed in a week, 2 at the most. So we may use these funds or complete this project this year, but just in case, I just push 70,000 for the installation rollover. But like I said, most likely we may finish this this year. The Somerton Heights is the same. It has the sewer portion that it needs to be paid by the sewer because we're going to replace several brick manholes. Northeast sewer infrastructure on County 15, which is basically the empty land that we have south of County 15, east of Somerton Avenue. That empty land, which is the sand hill, we cannot design because we don't know what's going to happen. So I push this for this year just in case we have a developer interested in this area. At the end, we don't have a solid commitment. So that's why I'm going to push to next year in case of a developer interested in this area, so we can move forward with the design. The next one is a purchase of new backhoe for water and wastewater. We're in the need to buy a new backhoe. The last one that we purchased was 5 years ago. So this is going to be split between water and wastewater. New spare pump for the main sewer lift station. Like always, my plan is to have a spare pump because we use three pumps on the main lift station. We have 2 on the Eucalyptus lift station. We have another 2 on Garvin and another 2 on Cesar Chavez. So we have about 8 or 9 pumps that we need to take care of it. And just in case something happens, we have the spare pump there. And the plotter is split to water, wastewater, streets, and community development. The new utility pickup trucks, we have 3 trucks for wastewater. We recently purchased for water, and this is going to be for wastewater. Wastewater treatment plant SCADA or PLC replacement or upgrade. This is going to change. We are planning to work with PACE Engineering, and we are going to work on a grant through the Army Corps of Engineers. Is money available that can be used for this project. It's going to be about around 460,000 for this replacement. As you know, this is the same system that we have back in 06, 07, when we changed from lagoons to the SBR. Since then, we are basically just adding for the expansion on 2012. And like this equipment is obsolete now. It's really hard to find parts. All this is electronic. So we are need to looking for a upgrade or replacement. So we are going to work with the PACE Engineering to get a grant for this. The grant is 75% grant and 25 in kind from city funds. Next. Sanitation is just the body for one of our side loaders and the compactor for the recycling. That's all my projects, Mayor and Council.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor. One thing I didn't see, Sam, that I would like to see you guys add is sidewalk replacement project. We've been harping about it for what seems is almost a year already. There's a lot of broken sidewalks that need to be taken care of. And quite honestly, I hope it's all of council supports it, because we did get sued a while back in regards to that. So I think it's at this point in time, I think it's one of my priorities for our community, for their safety, and of course to prevent any further legal implications. I've reported a few of them, and quite honestly, keep getting the runaround. We didn't budget for it, or we don't have the time. Well, guess what? Now is the time to make arrangements for budgeting. Either we do it or we hire a contractor. But all these sidewalks need to get fixed.
Okay, Vice Mayor, I will move forward with that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
These are all the CIPs that I have for you today. If you have any questions or comments.
Something I didn't see and we've discussed several times, and also the retreat, it was those retention basin conversion. That was something that it's going to have an effect.
Basin conversions.
Let's budget. So I guess we can discuss now. Can we discuss? It was either fix it at one time or in the 3-year period, right? Or something like that.
We ended up looking at the cost of, because it's part of the park's overall operation and as far as improvement districts. But it ended up being about $25,000 per park. And I think Vice Mayor had mentioned to try to do all of them at once, obviously, because they were all different improvement districts. One thing that we didn't discuss, as actually we had the meeting this morning, I believe. One thing that we didn't mention much is our inmate labor that we did have in the past. In the past, we had I believe it was about 26 employees, which definitely did help on the improvement districts. Now we only have, I think, 4 to 6, depending if they can actually let them out. So from 26, we went to 4 or 6, and some of them are the recycling, and then others are, no recycling. So at one point, I think they had 2, but then they stopped. Now they're at Public Works and only 1 at Parks, I believe.
And we don't see that increasing?
No, not. They've been making some changes and policies have been changed at the corrections office. So they're making some major changes over there. And with COVID, it's not helping.
Yeah. So I would say, of course, we're looking at the budget. We should budget at least and try to put it somewhere and because we need to do something. Either the worst case scenario, we probably looking at our budget, probably the not the accelerated one, but just the over 3-year period, or we could probably do the ones for the district. So, but yeah, we need to include it here. Vice Mayor?
I think for myself, living in a district, $25,000 you divide it by 50 homes is really feasible, but that actually would free up some time on the Parks and Rec side.
Absolutely, we definitely agree with you.
The more you delay it, the more the cost is gonna go up. So I'd rather take care of it now. Plus the districts are gonna pay the cost.
So the districts, let's do it
because we
here and charge it, but let's make sure that for the next year it goes down because we're gonna hear it.
Because and I say 25,000 because not all of them are gonna be 25,000. Some were 17, 12, 32, 25. That's why the average was about 25,000. Yeah. But that's the improvement districts. On the other hand, we still have our non-improvement districts retention basins that we do need.
But at least the improvement districts that we could take care of that, and let's start working on the other districts. Yeah, maybe we can assign our contractor project manager to do that. Or unless Jesus wants to do it.
And he is working on it. Actually, we're waiting for a bid or a quote from I think a couple of landscapers in the area. So
I don't know what the process is to ask the districts more and get those tags. So we need to know how much time realistically it would take, and so we can assess those. And
it's part of the truth in taxation process. So when we advertise for the truth in taxation, we'll include the amount that we're increasing for each district. Right now, it's a lump sum of $171,000 altogether. But as we're increasing these to reflect the capital improvements associated with each district, we'll go ahead and have a line item distribution of the assessment per district.
Okay. And hopefully it's divided accurately by square footage or whatever. That's what
It's divided by the amount that each district is paying for supplies, materials, and labor.
Yeah, I'm saying if we do the xeroscape, at least, I live in a district. I want to see our retention basin is small, and that's what I want to see be reflected.
Okay. I'll make sure and include that with the improvement district information for you when I present that.
Yeah.
That concludes, Mayor.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you. It's 7:38. Meeting's adjourned.